over the leaking of a secretly recorded conversation between then-candidate Trump and his former attorney, Michael Cohen. The audio appears to show the two men talking about buying the rights to a story of a former Playboy model who claimed to have an affair with Trump. Here's the president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani.
First of all, the major point is it's outrageous that someone would tape his client surreptitiously. And number two, it's also foolhardy for them to try to kind of yell and scream and make believe what's on the tape. I agree with you, the tape is a little bit hard to hear, but I assure you that we listened to it numerous times. And the transcript makes it quite clear at the end that President Trump says, quote, "Don't pay with cash."
Also getting some reaction from the ranking Democrat on the House Intel Committee, Adam Schiff. He writes, quote, "As former prosecutor, 3 things notable about Cohen tape. 1, clear Giuliani was untruthful when he said Trump didn't know. 2, goal was to kill story before election, so campaign motivated. 3, regardless of cash or check, whole point of phony corp was to hide campaign expenditure." Power panel now. David Webb, host of David Webb's show on Sirius XM Patriot, Fox News contributor, literally ran across the street to get here. Leslie Marshall, syndicated radio talk show host and Fox News contributor too. David Webb, what say you?
Great to see you. What I say is they're making a lot about nothing, because in the end, Schiff's kind of specious argument to throw campaign expenditure in there doesn't point to anything that actually meets the FEC guidelines so far based on what we know as a campaign expenditure.
Leslie?
I don't agree. As the judge had said, and we talked about in the green room earlier about the
Judge
fraud.
Andrew Napolitano, you're deposing my guest before the Senate.
I know what happens in the green room is supposed to stay in the green room. Okay, I'll keep it there. The bottom line is here, you're talking about actually 2 potential areas with regard to campaign finance, violations. It's a 5-year statute. We have some time. There are some other tapes that will be up to Mueller. 1, it exceeds the amount if it's a contribution by the inquirer. 2, whether it was a cash or a check, if it was campaign funds used for that purpose and it was not disclosed, that is campaign finance
those are a lot of
violation, and that is criminal.
Those are a lot of ifs, and so far, based on what we know, and that's what I said, there's nothing there. By the way, on the case of Mueller, this was turned over to New York, so therefore this is not a Mueller case. Right now, this stays with Cohen and in New York.
Andrew Napolitano says the door can be opened on that, though, because what he called civil fraud in all of this wipes away the attorney-client privilege. We'll see what happens with that. I just want to get this in. So I was mentioning previously, as we were talking about the economy and tariffs, that the president right now is meeting with the EU president, Juncker, at the White House. The media pool that was in there has come in and out, and we're getting some notes. Apparently, the president not responding to shouted questions on the very Michael Cohen topic. So, David, I come back with you real quickly, or to you. Some of this may be less about whether or not there was a crime or fraud or any of it. It is a distraction right now, and one side at the table would love for that distraction maybe to be, and that would be the Democrats.
Yes, they would, because this is the politics of it in a time when you've got significant political activity around primaries. You look at a primary win last night with Brian Kemp, who the president endorsed. You have the fact that the GDP numbers are coming out at the end of the week. So the Democrat strategy, and I do get some of their emails, is to target anything that can distract you from the fact that when we get high GDP numbers and we see a growing economy, this is a problem because voters in the Midwest, voters in, not on the wings of the country, they're voting on their kitchen table issues. So the politics without the crime is important for the Democrat Party.
You know, it's interesting. You talk about those GDP numbers, and I'm not going to profess to be able to get down into the weeds on this, but it is a hard sell for Democrats to go against like a 4% GDP or higher. That's tough, along with all the other gains in the economy.
Not when you have a few other things. An issue of trust ties into these tapes and other areas with regard to the president.
But let's stick with the economy for just a second.
With the economy, it's not just what the numbers are. It's what people feel. Do people actually feel those numbers? We saw this actually during the Obama years. I mean, when you saw
polling that I'm seeing is that people feel good.
Going down, when you saw more people getting jobs, right now, if the people feel that, it could go in their favor. But the polls aren't showing that. They're very concerned just as much about economic issues as they are
But
about social
Leslie, I
issues
gotta
like
tell you
No,
what,
number
I
one for
cannot
people in
disagree with you
polling,
more
David, we
because-
know is health care.
Right,
And
That's
healthcare.
not a social issue. That's,
but
well,
here-
healthcare is a healthcare.
no, that's
is
a medical issue.
No, to some
It's
it
a
is,
medical
but-
issue, which people
And an
consider
insurance
more
issue.
social than economic. They don't
All right,
look at it
here-
connected to GDP.
Leslie,
they
you're
look at it
drawing-
connected to their
I
You're
just a
drawing
word of-
bad
just a-
comparison on Obama versus this on the economy. The difference is who's getting the jobs and the type of jobs that are happening now. Also, when you look at the economic numbers today, you have more jobs than people available to fill them. You didn't have that during the Obama years. They're doing better. The industry's middle America. They're making more money. And when you add the change in who's entering the workforce, people re-entering, this is a remarkably different economy than the Obama years.
Is the White House, are Republicans, and I have to cut myself off because remember the president just met with the EU president, and now we can take a look at the fresh tape coming out of the White House.
Over the years, the United States has been losing hundreds of billions of dollars with the European Union, and we just want it to be a level playing field for our farmers, for our manufacturers, for everybody. And we also want a big beneficiary, frankly, to be the European Union. So we think it can be good for everybody, and that's what we're here to discuss. Mr. President, thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Mr. President. First, I wanted to thank you for having taken the initiative to invite me to the White House. We are close partners, allies, not enemies. We have to work together. We are representing half of the world trade. $1 trillion is the trade figure between us.
Yes.
And so I think that we have to talk each to another and not at another, and that's what we do today. I do think that we should focus on reducing tariffs, not on increasing them, and that's what we have to do. That's our job.
Well, I agree, and if we could have no tariffs and no barriers and no subsidies, the United States would be extremely pleased. We have many countries, we won't say European Union, we have many countries where they have massive barriers and they have massive tariffs, and we have to follow. And you could call it retaliation, but I'd rather just say that we want reciprocal. So whether it's with European Union or others, it has to be reciprocal in nature at a minimum. And we're working on that, and I think we're making tremendous strides. We're doing very well with Mexico. We're doing very well with a lot of countries, actually, right now. And but this is something, as Jean-Claude said, together as a unit, we make up actually more than 50% of the world trade. That's a big number. That's a big number. So we expect something very positive to take place, but you'll be the first to know. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Did Michael Cohen betray you?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. President, are you worried about what Michael Cohen is going to say to
Thank you.
prosecutors? Are you worried about what is on the other tapes, Mr. President?
Thank you very much, everyone.
Why is Michael Cohen not accepting your resignation? Why is Michael Cohen not accepting?
This part. So the president and the EU president are there, and the EU president, Juncker, says that they are willing to focus on reducing tariffs on a day in which the president said, can you wipe away all EU tariffs? That's a big topic of conversation. The media, though, in the room, and we know because we had people there too, shouting questions at the end that you could kind of make out a little bit. They were asking about this tape with his former attorney, Michael Cohen, and you hear someone say, any other tapes, Mr. President? A lot of thank yous. The president was on topic with the tariffs. And David, you said this says a lot about what?
This is a lot about politics and distraction, but your point about the tariffs is remarkably important. When you look at shift in the European markets, you look at the Frankfurt market, tech heavy, you look at some of the other European markets, the CAC 40, you look at the FTSE in Great Britain, you look at the changes in economic factors, the value of our trade with them versus the trade deficit, which is now north of, I believe, $153 billion annually. You look at the millions of dollars we put into France on a daily basis basis in exchange, in trade, and in economic activity. If you want to really have, as the Democrats call it now, they're now suddenly for fair trade and open trade, then let's take the tariffs out of the picture and rebalance based on goods and valuation.
Interesting information, and all of it important. The questions, though, that were shouted were about Michael Cohen, and this is what Democrats are pointing to, and then some media in the room. Why?
Well, first of all, because I think they were baiting the president a bit. He's not one to just say thank you.
So you can
usually
see
and
that.
talk. Yeah, I can see that. Look, you have the president. He's standing there. Get whatever you can. You're gonna try and get that headline. For whoever you work for, and that question is definitely going to get the headline. There isn't much to talk about with this yet.
All that's at stake that David said.
Well, no, because this is, hi, we've just met. This is what we plan to talk about. It isn't they come out of the room and he said, I told them and asked for no tariffs, and the other guy said no deal, and they're looking the other way, and they're all and they're stodgy.
This has been part of a leverage game being played with the president on the tariff issue for months. So it's not a new issue.
Wait. No, David, I disagree with you when you said that the Democrats have finally come on board, because I want to remind you, for decades the Democrats have been pro-union, and for decades the unions have been talking about not just China, but talking about this trade deficit and talking about what it's done to industries like steel and aluminum, what it has done to the workers in this country.
Well, you know what is not happening? This conversation was not happening in this room. They were talking about the president. Are there more tapes? Where are we going with this? Politically, where are we going with this?
Go to Middle America and ask them what they care about. Ask them what they care about in Romeo, Michigan, in Dearborn, Michigan, or in Racine, Wisconsin. They care, and they will vote in the midterms on their kitchen table. The Reagan question, are you better off today than you were before?
Not on the
Go to
Michael
Western
Cohen
Ohio.
tape.
They're not going to vote on Michael Cohen or the president's tweets.
I would agree that I don't think anybody's going to vote on Michael Cohen, but it's a big picture. It's not only one issue. For some people, it is.
Because it sounds personal.
Well, but it is personal for some people. 13 of those seats that need to be flipped in order to take over control of the House for Democrats are in the state of California, where I live. And immigration is a bigger issue for, say, for example, in California than it would be in Wisconsin.
What does that have to do with Michael Cohen's tape?
What does that have to do with Michael
Some of the people out there, that I've spoken to on my radio show that voted for the president and want to believe the president, believed he didn't know these women, believed there was no affair, believed that these people were all lying.
We have no shortage of people cheating on their significant others and not being honest about it.
True.
One of them was a president.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And by
His
the way,
name rhymes with Hinton.
Right. And by the way, out of those 13
I think we can
seats,
say Bill Clinton.
Yeah, we absolutely can say Bill
Out of those
Clinton.
13, you have 34 seats that are effectively considered toss-ups for the House, which even if you wipe them out would leave the GOP at a 202 to 199 ratio. Of those 34, if you take 13, you still don't get there. You have 7 seats as toss-ups in the Senate. Senate not likely to flip anytime
And you say
soon.
the issue is really economic, and polling
It's
shows that the
kitchen table.
issues are kitchen table, and at the kitchen table is how will I protect my family with health care, insurance, how expensive some of the unknowns with that. I mean, those are all kitchen table issues. You also have a kitchen table issue right now of everybody focused on what's going to happen in the economy with the tariffs. Wow, that's a lot. And still they ask about Michael Cohen's tapes.
Americans...
Thank you. Great to see you both. We'll be right back.